at Horse Guards Parade. Beautiful sunny afternoon as the riders set off. And the race neutralised at first. Mark Cavendish and Sir Bradley Wiggins just catching up as the race headed out to Kingston, and the elite riders there on the right of the screen passing those in the 100, the Sportive, making their way back into London. We had an early breakaway. Mark Cavendish there, third in line, was involved in that four-man break as they headed for Hampton Court. Didn't last for long as the race soon came back together. Mark Cavendish also had a few mechanical problems early, had to stop, have his handlebars adjusted, but at a stage in the race when things hadn't really got moving at the front, so he was soon able to ride back through the cars and head back to the peloton. And now out on the road with 133.5 kilometres to go. As you can see, it's nearly a 5-minute gap from what is a 5-man breakaway group. We're back with the peloton at the moment. Mark Cavendish's Ethics Quick Step team riding on the front, but the riders in the breakaway group are Riccardo Stacchiotti from Nippo Vini Fantini, Eric Rousel from Madison Genesis, Eric Rousel riding on familiar Surrey roads, Pete Williams from One Pro Cycling, Pete Williams another one of the domestic professionals in Great Britain, Lander Seinave of Wandy Group Gobert, a young Belgian rider without any major results on his palmares, so a good opportunity for him to show his face at the front, and Sander Helden as well from Top Sport Vlaanderen, another Belgian rider who won a stage in the Étoile de Bessèges last year, which is a curtain raiser event in France.
It's not always the continental teams, the World Tour teams that have it all their own way in this event.
Well, here we've got the main peloton grinding their way up towards the top of the climb, and it's at moments like these, David Miller, that it's perhaps not so bad to be sitting on the rear end of a motorbike for a change.
No, not at all. He's just had the worst moment of a mechanical. We're coming by him right now.
Who's this, Pete Williams?
There's Pete Williams. You can see him just there. Because there's no team cars here, because there's only one team car per team, so there's only 6-man teams. The team cars are back with the peloton. So poor Pete's like chasing on his own, and he had to do it from the middle of the climb. It's the worst case scenario, and you can see he's actually having to go deep.
So he's had to work really hard twice in the last 20 minutes or so, hasn't he? Because he had the puncture as well to deal with, so as you say, Williams is really having to go into the red to get back in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last time was not so bad. We're going through the feed, which again isn't ideal, because then you're having to slow down to catch your bag, get your bottle, which we just saw, and the last time was okay, it was on the descent, he could whiplash back on, but we see the brakes kind of coming to pieces, and there's only 2 minutes chasing. He's stuck here, and the guy who's on his wheel isn't going to help him, because he's already been dropped from the climb, he's dead. So it's kind of, it never rains, it pours, basically.
And what's it like out there on that climb in particular? Because I remember last year there was a lot of debris strewn across the road because of the stormy conditions. Is it much clearer today?
It's much clearer today. It's actually it's really nice today. I mean, everything's quite. I'm amazed at how little rubbish or anything there is on the road, especially after what the 26,000 people have been out here before.
Of Europe.
Here we are. As you could just see a few moments ago, 6% the climb, and Pete Williams I think has just punctured again, so he's had some rotten luck. That's a couple of punctures in the last 20 minutes or so. Here at the peloton, just over a minute and a half behind, and in fact it's not a puncture, his chain has come off, so if it's not one thing it's another for Pete Williams at the moment.
On the other end, Rousel I think has decided to try and make the King of the Mountain competition his. I'm not sure if he realises that he's already dropped everybody else. I'm just wondering if he might just push on. I think this breakaway is doomed, but if he really commits himself, he can stay out there for a couple of laps and get all the points he needs in this competition.
Well, he'll be looking to wrap this one up, won't he? And Eric Rousel there has won both of the King of the Mountains sets of points on offer so far. The first rider at Ranmore Common, the first of 3 ascents. Further down the climb, a minute and a half back, is the peloton. Yves Lampert, the UKser, up towards the front for Ethics Quick Step. And the rider at the back of the peloton, David Miller there, who's in the thick of it with the peloton out on the roads in Surrey, out on the circuit at the moment as they head over the top of the climb. Here come the peloton. just over a minute and a half behind Eric Rousel, who was first over the top.
Well, those three at the front now have decided that no, we're not waiting for Pete Williams anymore. We're going to put our foot down and see how long we can keep this breakaway going. Well, in fact, having said that, they've managed to get their way back across anyway. They were driving, so I think they're going to be happier as a full 5. It's important really that they just keep pushing on, because I don't think they've got a chance to stay the distance here, but they can take this King of the Mountains competition, the Rousel and the sprints competition. 1:30 in front now, with just over 100 kilometres remaining, 106 kilometres to go.
He's making his debut for the BMC squad. He's what's called a stagiaire in cycling. It's effectively a bit like an apprentice, would that be the right way of saying it?
That's right, they get called up towards the end of the season to come and have a trial run, and I think it's a great opportunity, and most of the time those riders will feel a lot of pressure because they come into a pro team and they've got this short window to prove themselves and to secure a contract.
Yeah, promising young Dutch rider. He was first in the under-23 version of Het Nieuwsblad this year, and he also won a stage of the Tour of Normandy, which is quite a good race for up-and-coming young riders. It's a race that people like Owen Dool have won stages in as well in the last couple of years or so. So it's a good way for him to make a decent impression.
Well, it's quite an audition. It really is a high-pressure world, and you don't get many opportunities to shine. But that's part of it, really. That's why, you know, the riders at the top get paid a lot of money, is because, you know, they have to deal with this. They have to be able to deal with this kind of pressure. So he's making the most of his opportunity. He's trying to get some time checks from our camera motorbike to see how far they are in front. We've got race radio here in the commentary box as well, and we're getting information in very small bits as well. So it's likely the riders are about the same.
The riders are not using race radios, so that's a little bit different. So there could be, it may be that he's actually made a mistake, that's possible, that he's taken it into his own hands to go on the attack, because there's no communication between the riders and their director.
Well, there were some communication issues in San Sebastian yesterday in the Men's World Tour race, wasn't there? Did you hear about that, with Adam Yates winning the race, biggest one of his career, fantastic win with Gilbert and Valverde second and third behind him. But as he rode up to the line, he had no idea that he was at the front of the race. It was only after he crossed the line that he heard on the radio, "And me?" And then he lifted his arms in the air. He was about 50 yards beyond the line. Let's get back out onto the road and join David Miller. David, it looks as if it's all kicking off on the front of the peloton.
Yeah, it is kicking off, but you wonder whether it's a bit too late. They maybe should have done this a lap before, because we can see the yellow helmets in the front. That's Lotto Jumbo. There's BMC as well that are really driving. There's an NFTO rider. But right behind them is an Ethics Quickstep rider and a Sky rider. And they're also the guys that are leading the peloton behind. So they're marking the front. So they've got it pretty much covered. You've got Lotto and Lotto Jumbo who are being aggressive, BMC being aggressive, NFTO who are being aggressive. But then we've got in fourth and fifth place, Sky and Quickstep who are riding very defensively, blocking at the front and chasing from behind.
You might be right, though, when you look at the course, there is really only Box Hill to come, isn't there, in terms of difficulty?
No, exactly, and I've done this race before, only once before, but you can see this circuit is so incredibly hard, and I think people get sort of tricked into thinking it's a sprinter's race in the fact that you've got a flat start, flat end. But if a team was to attack this from the very first lap, it would be in pieces by the time it got to Box Hill. Instead, they kind of realised after 2 laps that it's actually very hard, start attacking on the 3rd lap, and then kind of they miss the opportunity. But that's also the thing when you've got a relatively new race, which this is, as we said 3.5 times really, that takes a few years for people to really learn what a course is.
As I said, finds himself on the front. He's going to have to lead it out. Jetby Drucker. Here comes Van Mark to light it up and try and get going early. Ben Swift realises that he's got to go. Drucker takes the wheel of Seth Van Mark. It's Drucker coming on the right-hand side for BMC. Drucker covered by Tennyson. Ben Swift's going to miss out on this occasion. Is it... Oh, and it's just about Drucker that gets it. Drucker for BMC just about hangs on. What an absolutely fantastic sprint. Just about manages to edge Mike Tennyson of Lotto NL Jumbo and Ben